here's why it's so awesome that the women were picked to be the first ones to testify about Jesus. Did you know that in Jesus' day, women were not considered credible witnesses in a court of law? They weren't allowed to talk. No one listened to them. They only listened to men because only men were credible. We all know that, how that worked out, right? But you know what it does? It gives an amazing amount of credibility to the resurrection story. Because if somebody made up the story about Jesus rising from the dead, they wouldn't have picked women to be the testifiers. They would have picked Peter or James or John or some other guy. The fact that the women were the ones that told the story means Jesus picked them, and it was part of the story. Anyway, back to the story. Jesus' body was placed in the tomb on Good Friday, right after he was crucified. But it was right before the Sabbath began, so they didn't have time to properly prepare the body. And you're not allowed to work on the Sabbath, so they couldn't prepare the body over the course of the Sabbath until sundown on Saturday. By the time sundown happened, they might have had time to run to the store and get what they needed to prepare the body, but by then it was late at night and it was not safe to head to the cemetery to take care of Jesus' body, so they had to wait another night. So first thing in the morning, they're on their way to the tomb. They certainly didn't expect a resurrection. We know they were probably overcome with grief because they get halfway to the tomb and it dawns on them, who's going to move the stone? We can't do it. It's too big. There's no way we can get it out of our way. You know, in a way, the stone reminds us of life's insurmountable problems and barriers for us that block our way. They're too big for us to move. We don't know what we can do with them. But these women arrive at the tomb and we're told there's a violent earthquake. And the women look up and see that the stone is already rolled back. You know what that tells us? That tells us we should always remember that God takes care of our barriers even when we can't or don't even know they're coming. Because that's what God did for them. But these women, man, they don't know if the stone being moved is good news or bad news. Think about it. Everything they had faced over the course of that week, especially the last 3 days, I'm thinking they were erring to the side it was bad news that the stone was moved. And here's what I mean by that. As they approach the tomb and their hearts are pounding and their curiosity's building, they're probably thinking somebody stole the body. Or somebody desecrated the body. Or somebody might still be in the tomb. And they don't know what to expect. And then they see this angel sitting on a stone. And the text tells us that the Roman guards were so afraid they were like dead men. And I'm sure the women were afraid as well. And the angel does what all angels do when they show up on earth. They lead with, do not be afraid, right? Because clearly people are afraid when the angels show up.